Sports app.
Flexibility, including trades, maybe not as flexible. And then a lot of teams aren't very flexible when it comes to the cap. It's just a matter of going over it and how you can go over it and when you can go over it. So Keith Smith via Spa Track posted kind of just a breakdown of the Kings financials. Chris, I know we looked at it before the show and you kind of have some notes on it. Brendan Nunez, our Sactown Sports Kings insider, stopped in and you guys were talking about some other things that the Bucks did with Bobby Portis to maybe give Malik some more flexibility. Right. But let's just start high level here on what the current situation is for the Kings.
Yeah, I'm just going to read it verbatim here because I don't want to get any of the words twisted up here. Mm-hmm. So this is again from Keith Smith of Spotrac. He was on with the Drive Guys a couple weeks ago. So you can go check out that interview right now at YouTube and go check that out because he answers tons of very specific questions. This is more of just an overview of the Kings financials for the offseason. He says there may be no simpler offseason preview to write than the Sacramento Kings. They either re-sign Malik Monk and fill the remaining spots with players on minimum contracts, or the Kings lose Malik Monk to a bigger offer than they can give him, and they use their non-taxpayer MLE to try and find a replacement. And the MLE is going to be $12.9 million, which is not nothing. Like that can definitely get you. You can go check out all the free agency lists that we dropped last week. You can go check out some of the names that you can maybe get for that MLE. It's not the most exciting names, but it's still names that you could maybe see the Kings using to try and replace Malik Monk. I don't think that there is going to be any full replacing of Malik Monk, but you can definitely get a grasp of some of the people available. It's really that simple, Keith writes, but in that simplicity, things are far more complex. Everything orbits around Monk, so we'll start here. The Kings only have early bird rights for Monk and is completing a 2-year contract. That limits Sacramento offering him a 4-year deal that maxes out at around $78 million. We already know that. That's an average value of about $19.5 million per season. Not so bad, right? Not so fast. Monk could definitely get offers from some of the teams with cap space out there. Monk would immediately be a plug and play for a lot of teams. The Utah Jazz he lists, but with Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton playing the same role, Monk would be a wonderful fit for just about every team except for the Jazz. I'm sorry, Philadelphia, Orlando, the Thunder, the Spurs, the Pistons, all are listed as potential suitors for Malik Monk. And Keith Smith puts out there something that we've known, but have been wondering if it will actually be true, saying that the deals will start north of $20 million and has an AAV of up to $25 million for some of those teams. And some of the things that me and Brendan were going back and forth is ways that the Kings can kind of get a little bit creative with how they can give Malik Monk more money than what is actually being presented right now. We know the 4-year offer that they can throw him. That's going to be about $77 million around that frame. The Kings can either just offer that, and that is using the bird rights, and that you can match your offer from his initial contract up to 175% of that value, and that's how you get at the 4-year $77 million. However, again, the Kings can get a little bit funky and do something that the Milwaukee Bucks did with Bobby Portis, where essentially you can offer him a 2+1, which is a 2-year contract with a 1-year player option. Malik will then opt out of that player option, giving him access, and this is where things get a little technical. Right now, he's at the early bird rights. He can get full bird rights after being with the team for 3 seasons. He's only been with the Kings for 2 seasons. So if they sign him, you can't just sign him to a 1-year deal. That's not allowed in the CBA. So they can sign him to a 2-year deal, get him past that 3-year threshold, entering him into full bird rights, which allows the Kings to pay him pretty much $30 million a year. And that's how you can get essentially 2 years at a smaller figure, have him opt out, and then sign a bigger contract. So it's kind of a wink-wink deal in a way. And that can get you up to a 4-year, $100 million contract, which is a lot more in that it averages out to be the $25 million that we've been talking about Malik might have to take if Orlando, if Philadelphia, if a team goes out there and prioritizes Malik Monk. $25 million might not be out of the equation for other teams. And so if Sacramento can find a way to get Malik to that $100 million figure, it's going to be really tough for him to say no. He would have to actually think that the situation he's walking into is significantly better than the Kings situation for it to be dollar for dollar. For all intents and purposes, we know the taxes and all that stuff. For the contract value to be dollar for dollar, and for him to choose a different situation.
So, if he does 2 more years, right, and then he opts out again, wouldn't the Kings be in a similar situation where they'd be going up against other teams that would want Malik?
I think in theory, yes, but also I don't know if any other team could offer him $30 million on that next deal.
Right.
Because, everybody would want to be paying Malik Monk $20 to $25 million. The Kings essentially will be paying way more than market value on the second deal because they paid under market value on the first deal.
Right.
So I think that's the thought, is that Malik in that second contract wouldn't even consider maybe doing the 2-for-1 and then leaving after the 2, because the Kings offer can then be, let me get the number here. It would be $30.7 million in the first year in 2026, and then $33.2 million in year 2 of that bird rights deal. So the thought would be nobody is going to give Malik that much money. He would still be, even if his value gets higher, maybe it'll be starting at 25 million, peak at 30 or something like that.
Right.
So no matter what, the Kings would be paying the higher price point on the second part of the deal.
Well, and the way I'm understanding this is Malik would have to really want to stay in Sacramento to do this deal.
Sure,
so the idea that he would go through all this and then leave, probably not.
That's
that
right. Exactly. Because then he would just have taken 2 years of less money for no reason. He could have gone anywhere else. He could have still signed a 2-year deal and then re-upped somewhere else.
And to be fair, and when did the Bobby Portis deal happen? I'm just trying to figure out if he did that after a championship or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic point, because obviously there's a lot more incentive to stay and all that stuff. I can pull that up, but all that it says here in the article is when the Milwaukee Bucks had Bobby Portis coming off a deal for the biannual exception, which the Kings also have access to this year. It's about a $5 million contract. They re-signed him to a new 2-year deal using his non-bird rights, which he opted out. They repeated the process a year later and then re-signed him to a new deal. There's no word on when that was. I can look it up real quick.
The only reason I ask is because, you're more willing to be flexible.
It was a year ago.
Okay. So actually
a year ago is when he declined the option. So he agreed to that 3 years ago.
Got it. So you're in the height of, hey, we're champions and we've been at the top of the mountain for the Eastern Conference. So it's a little bit easier to see Bobby doing that than a team who just lost in the play-in. Yeah. Now, hey, Malik said himself, we would have been in the playoffs if I wasn't injured, but it's really a matter of, well, Malik, how much do you want to stay? We can get you your money eventually, or you can take the money now. Yeah. And, it's guaranteed money in the NBA. You can take the money now while you're a hot name wherever you want to go, or you can stay in Sacramento and we can work with you and we can get you the money eventually.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why this thing all comes down to, at the end of the day, it's a decision. It's honestly not, I mean, the financials factor into it. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's, if Malik decides to stay, it makes the decision that Sacramento is the place that he wants to play. They can figure out the rest later. They can sign him. He can be the last free agent they sign. As long as the agreement is there, that's the important thing for the Kings. And, it's about Malik making the mental decision that he's staying here more so than anything else, because it might not make the most financial sense right immediately for him to do it. But if he decides that he wants to further his career in Sacramento, they'll make it work. Right. They will make it work. And that's the good thing that we've learned here, is that at the very least, it's not just as cut and dry as the Kings can only offer Malik this, and this is just the money that he's going to get from the Kings, and it's either this or he has to choose somewhere else. It's nice to know that at the very least there's ways the Kings can get a little bit frisky and make it make a little bit more sense for Malik, because it's a really tough decision to turn down what he's built here for more money, but I think you can help make that decision easier for Malik from a Sacramento standpoint by making that money easier or more level. And if all things are created equal, I believe Sacramento's got a really good chance at keeping him.
Coming up next, there was another name that Keith Smith brought up